Everything about that letter, the way it's written, the way it's folded, the way the envelope is sealed, everything about it says just one thing. R-E-V-E-N-G.
Revenge?
You know what I mean. Now look, Andy,
Sarah, get me one eat at the Bluebird Diner. Okay, anyway, that's how most of us remember the legendary Don Knotts. He was Mayberry's deputy sheriff in real life. He was also a dad. His daughter Karen has created a one-woman show about growing up with the comedian. She's here to tell us all about her show called Tied Up in Knots. Welcome, Karen.
Well, thank you.
What's the first thing that you said to me when you met me this morning?
I said, you look like my dad.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I've been hoping for that my entire life. He was a genius in my eyes. And how was my impression? Was it pretty good?
I was very good.
Was it spot on?
It was very good, very close. You know, I have to say, my dad was a little bit proud when he'd say to me, you know, Karen, not too many people can do me.
That's right. That's right. Did you realize how famous he was growing up?
Well, you know, it's funny because when I was about 5 years old, my father was on the Steve Allen Tonight Show, and that was a live television show. And I was used to him leaving the house and going to work. And when we moved out to California and he got on the Andy Griffith Show, well, that was a tape, film show.
Right.
And so one time I was watching the television, watching my dad on TV, and he walked into the room. And just for a minute, I wasn't sure which was the real one, the one on TV or the one standing there.
We're just looking at him from the Steve Allen Show. He's doing a bit being a weatherman and so forth.
Right.
Well, I guess there would be a difference between live TV and then the tape show.
Yeah, because on live TV, you have to go there and be live.
You're right.
And so it was completely different.
Well, I just love the title of your show, Tied Up in Knots. I mean,
Thank you.
that says it all.
It does, it does.
Tell me about the show.
Well, the show talks about my dad's childhood, his being poor in West Virginia, then being inspired by Edgar Bergen and his dummy, and he learned ventriloquism. That got him into the Army doing ventriloquism, and then he made contacts in the Army because these guys were already professional entertainers. And then when he got to New York, they helped him get started. And then it goes on into his career, his relationship with me. I got to go on the set of the Andy Griffith Show and see the characters and what they were really like.
What were they really like?
Very different.
Really?
Very different.
All of them?
All of them.
Yeah.
And even Andy Griffith, he had many sides, multifaceted. But Ronnie Howard and I were the same age. We still are.
No, I think he's grown past you.
I probably has.
Yeah.
I try to keep up.
Well, so they're all very different. I wondered what it was like on the set. I don't know how many Emmys your dad won for that.
Five,
which is incredible. I mean, he's a comic genius.
Yes.
One of the first of his kind, really.
Well, he was an original.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, people still watching the show more than 50 years later.
Right. As we did every day while I didn't have a job. But that's the other story that I told you about. Now, was he close to Andy Griffith?
They were very close.
Yeah.
They had a very special friendship. Because they were from the South and they grew up with all these crazy characters that they knew and loved, and they would tell stories, and the stories would inspire them to create, and they really created a lot on the show.
Were you ever embarrassed as a kid of your dad's characters?
Well, I will tell you, when I ended up going to Beverly Hills High.
Oh, you did?
Yes, because my father we moved to Beverly Hills.
Yeah.
And I was a hippie in high school. And I remember hanging out there in the front lawn, and the vice principal came over and said, "Does Barney Fife know you walk around barefoot?" And I said, "Wow, man, you're a weird dude." I mean, everybody at Beverly Hills High was cooler than me, I felt like.
Wow, that's great. Beverly Hills High, that's on Melrose, I think. I remember seeing that high school. Okay, so you're currently writing a book about your life with your father, right?
I am.
Wow.
I am. I will tell you one of my favorite stories that I have found so far. Ron Howard told me that when Jim Carrey's a huge fan of my father's, and when they were doing How the Grinch Stole Christmas, Jim was getting kind of down and depressed because he had to spend so many hours in the makeup chair.
Yeah.
So Ron secretly called my dad and said, "Would you mind just showing up on the set and surprising Jim?" So Jim's up there on the top of Grinch Mountain. He looks down, sees my dad, and immediately launches into a full-on impersonation of Barney Fife while wearing the Grinch costume.
Is that right? Oh, I wish that was on tape somewhere.
That's exactly what Ron said.
Is that right?
Ron Howard said, I wish I had that on camera.
Oh, man. And did you travel around with him?
I did. We did. He was always doing live theater. Most people don't know this. My dad did live theater all across the country. And I was in some plays with him, and it was amazing. He was so charismatic, and as soon as he stepped foot on the stage, he just exhilarated the audience. And here I am in a small part trying to learn from my dad, as everyone else was too.
Yeah. So you never felt the urge to break away from his legacy, or did you?
Well, you know, trying to establish your own identity when you have a
Right.
superstar parent is a challenge.
And when principals in high school kept telling you you're Barney Fife's daughter.
You know, yeah, and people will say, well, you don't look like Barney Fife. Then I have the urge to prove myself and go, what about now?
Right. Exactly.
Then I feel validated.
Yeah. And you mentioned on the set of the Andy Griffith Show that everybody was different.
Yes.
Than you would imagine. Was your dad different?
Well, of course. I mean, my dad was not like really Barney Fife in real life.
He wasn't?
Well,
I'm kidding.
I know, I just burst everyone's bubble. But except at times he was, sort of kiddingly.
Yeah.
Like he'd if he wanted, to behave, he'd go into Barney Fife mode. Say, Karen, you go on upstairs, brush your teeth, do your homework, and don't hang out with those bad kids on the Brady Bunch.
Look at this. Do you have your white gloves on? You didn't even know these existed, did you? Or did you?
I had seen them, but I hadn't seen the packaging before.
The pack. This.
Yeah, I hadn't seen the packaging.
The unopened pack.
Yeah,
here.
the unopened pack.
Yeah, look
I
at
always
that.
see the deck.
I have. This is my personal collection. I have all
That's
110.
great. You have all of them?
Yes, indeed.
That's impressive.
And if you get the gloves, I'll have you carry them if you want to. All right. So I don't. It just comes out. So
it's Barney Fifeism.
Right. So tell me about your show quickly and where we could see you while you're in town.
I'm going to be performing at the Uptown Theater Saturday night.
Okay. Tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night.
Very good.
And that's in Grand Prairie.
That's right. I'll just reiterate. You can catch Karen's show tomorrow at the Uptown Theater, Grand Prairie. You could log on to uptowntheater.com for ticket information.